Good morning, good morning, good morning. A little bit bright, but good morning. How are you all doing? Not in my trailer today, am I? Nope, we're on the road today. We'll be back later this afternoon. Every once in a while, we jump into town, relax, have a dinner, and get a nice rest. Because we live in a trailer. So we get to have a nice long shower and we get to relax for a bit. So that's what we're doing. We do that all the time. My banner's missing. Oh my goodness. I thought it would be up by now. We'll get that going for you. So what I am doing is today is Friends and Family Day. There's a banner. There's Friends and Family Day. And I got some news, sort of news. Not quite sure what to make of this news yet. I'll let Granny tell you because she'll be coming as well. But it does mean we're not going to get the mother and the wife today. I'll let Granny explain it to you because I'm not quite sure what it means, but it sounds like, well, she said it's huge. So we'll find out. But we won't have them. But I do believe we have a couple friends coming, and we'll certainly still talk about the men. We'll share some stories about them. We'll talk about how they're family men. And we'll get on and get to know them a little bit better. I do apologize for the lighting. This one right there. Maybe let's turn that one off. Is that better? I think that might be better. Let my producer let me know. I'm going to bring Donald in, and we're going to get started right away and start chatting. Yes, better, I'm being told. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning.
I was waiting for your coffee sip, and I didn't see one, so I said, well, let's try. There we go. Good morning. I got on the road coffee today.
There we go.
What's the green one? Is that the Irish one, and then the other one's regular?
No, this one's half done, and my wifey just brought down a nice full one for me.
What a wonderful wifey. We've
Isn't
never
that
met her,
nice?
have we?
No.
I can say we're back on YouTube now. So this is the first live broadcast back on YouTube this week. So we should have a larger audience because we do get a good audience on YouTube.
I certainly hope you've learned your lesson, whatever that lesson was.
The lesson was using local government information about the COVID stuff, and local government Nova Scotia is trumped by global government. So that's what happened there.
Comrade, don't you know that the rules are meant to be changed every morning?
Yeah, no, it's unfair because it says right in the strike, you were contradicting local government, and we were not. We actually were quoting local government, but there's no box that says, "Hey guys, we had local information." So it is what
Comrade,
it is.
are you arguing now with the decision of the council?
Please give me my bread. I want my bread. Give me my loaf. No. But look, it's good to be back on YouTube. I guess we'll have to play by the rules a little bit. And what I ended up doing, Donald, is I created a video that says, hey, we're not YouTube safe for this particular video. Head over to, and then I show all my different places. So what I'm going to do is on videos that I know are going to be kind of not safe, like yesterday's video, which was
the ones that tell the truth? Not
exactly.
Don't tell the truth, but the ones that tell the truth, they don't want heard. You mean those ones?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Those ones, the ones that have adult truth in them, those ones. Yeah. So, for example, yesterday we had Forbidden Truth. That was the name of the episode because that's exactly what we're talking about was a Nova Scotia information. So that one is not on YouTube. But going forward, most of our guests do have good information that won't trigger the YouTube stuff. So most of the guests will be on. Oh, good morning, Granny. Good morning. So great to see you. So
Good
great
morning.
to see you. How are you? Good morning. How are you doing?
Tired. Yesterday was an interesting day. I won't go into great detail, but it was really weird.
Yeah, I'm excited because you said, look, I don't think the family can come today. Something weird is happening, like you just said there. And that's what you left me with. You left me that and a cup of coffee. So I'm really excited now to find out what you can tell us, because I think what I got from your message was yesterday was not a normal day.
No. How to even explain it? Yesterday was not about the men. It was about others and their accountability. And now we wait till the 25th to find out what that's going to mean. Because it was interesting yesterday too, because we invite people to come down to the courthouse all the time. Come and let the men see your faces. This is the one chance you get to see all four in one room. And the room was full yesterday.
Great.
When all this happened. So there was many eyes watching and everybody hanging on every word, trying to figure out what was going on. And when we got into the hallway, it was buzzing. Yeah, so really the 25th is going to be interesting. I will keep you posted if anything happens between now and then.
So the 25th, is that another court date?
Yeah. They've got
I'll be there.
They've got many pre-trials. They've got many pre-trials booked until through to next year.
Right.
And the judge said yesterday, he said, if we end up in trial, the days are in stone. Nobody's changing anything. Nobody's doing nothing. Like he's actually recognizing the men as humans.
Great.
He's, you know, he says things. Have you discussed this with your clients? Have, you know, when pre-trials are being set and is down the road, and I don't know. He seems like a good man. And but yeah, yesterday was a bit different. So the 25th will be very interesting. And yes, Jason, I recommend you be there.
I will be there. I was in Calgary on the 24th, so I'll just come right up there to the 25th. I'll be there. Guaranteed.
Perfect.
Yeah. The wife is listening right now, so she's going to look and make sure that we're in Lethbridge on the 25th.
Well, I look forward to meeting both of you.
Yes, we'll be there. I'm excited.
I would definitely be at the front of the line to get through that door, let me tell you.
Absolutely. So there's a lot more people there. So it was packed. What do you think is going on? A lot more people got invited, or just more people are aware of it and they're showing up?
I say it this way, come and see the four men's faces, because if you can see their faces, they can see your faces. And smile at them, let them know you're watching, let them know that you see them, let the crown and the judge see you also. Show that there is support for these four men. I think that's important too. Like they said, you know, the public isn't there for these four men. Yeah, they are. There's tens of thousands across this. I put out a little thing on Facebook the other day. I put a post up and said, donate $5, $10, $15. You know, those numbers will add up to big dollars, but not even more than that is let the men, I can tell them hundreds of $5 came through. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, just let yourself be seen. Well, in the last week, $12,000 came into that account. So,
yes. I hope we're getting a couple ears and eyes listening. I hope that's working.
You are being chatted about. They think you and Donald are fantastic. They love listening to Donald's views about what he's gone through and about what he knows. Yeah, and they love the legal mind between the two of you. Like both of your backgrounds are perfect fit for this.
Oh, we're enjoying ourselves. I know Donald and I are pretty excited. We chat on Twitter. We're digging into stuff. We're pulling information. We're dedicated to this, and I'm really pleased that. I'm pleased that it might be helping the spirits somewhat. Because if anything, if that could be raised by this show, then we've nailed it. But if it also raises awareness and then possibly raises some funds or anything else, that's just wonderful. I'm very pleased about that.
It's a perfect fit. Like you came in, and again, we've talked about this divine intervention. It's a perfect timing. Everything happens when it's meant to happen. We need to have patience. I know that sounds horrible when it's 502 days, but the men understand the light they have brought to what's going on. And it's not just with the four of them and what they're going through. It's across Canada. It's bringing out Donald's story. There's so many out there, and the stories we're all hearing because we're all talking to each other now. We found each other, and it's huge.
I'm very pleased to hear that, because that's what I was aiming for, because I definitely want to get the reach out there. And look, Granny, what we found out over this last week is a lot of people do care. They just didn't know anymore. It kind of slipped away into the background. They just didn't know. So Donald, I'm going to go to you as somebody who was in there when your spirits were low, and you kind of like, what do you think they're going through right now that the Alberta and Canada's waking back up and they're starting to think about them and reach out again? What do you think that's doing to their spirit?
Well, first of all, I was only 63 days in prison. I know every day was in solitary, but that's only 63 days. And these Canadian citizens, these family men, have been in for, what's today, 502
502
days. And, you know, I remember the few visits that I got, and I say few because I didn't want to see I didn't want my children to come and see me in prison. So I had a few visits, and I can tell you how good it made you feel. Now, as I said before, I was a person who had family and friends, and I'm a stable person, and had a job and all the rest waiting for me. Well, in that way, I think much like the Coutts Four, just ordinary people, family people, and everything like that. And it was a tough 63 days. And when I think of these men in there, 502 days, and not only that, they're not in a prison, they're in a remand center.
Mm-hmm.
And things are tough. But I can tell you what I think they think
Mm-hmm.
about the last week, which is just what Granny said. Now, some hope, some good feeling that somebody remembers you, and there's the injustice of it. I mean, as you know, I was innocent, and that was later proven, but I did that time, and I think that makes it tougher.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all I can tell you is when I got a letter, when I had people visit me, when I heard people were talking about me, it made me feel good. It gave me hope for the future, because things can look pretty black there, but
Yeah.
just some hope and a kind word, heck, even from a guard once in a while, truly means a lot.
Yeah, and we heard from Snowy yesterday how just the personal touch and the routine is important. And he also mentioned how the remand centers, it's not really a place where you can have worship or continue along, because people don't stay there long enough. They come in and go. But the remand center is meant to be just like purgatory. You're just stopping for a bit to find out what your next step is. So
Well, it's
you're right.
also chaotic. Despite the fact that you're in prison, at least there's some stability there. And as people, we function better. Even with all the unknowns and the pressure of being in prison, to know that, believe it or not, this is your cell, this is your bed, these are the people around you, these are the guards, the same one that
Mhm.
you saw last week. That provides a level of stability that they don't have in the remand center, and that's another important point.
That's right, because they don't even know when they're coming out. They don't know anything like that. They're sitting there, have no idea what's about to happen, and every day seems to be changing. And now they get to look forward to the 25th, which is like 3 weeks, 4 weeks away. So it's long gaps in between all of this stuff, but it sounds like at least they're excited and there's something interesting happening. So, Granny, I'm going to come to you a bit. You mentioned others. Were you talking maybe the other 10 of the 14, or just other people involved? Like, do you kind of know maybe where this others are?
It had nothing to do with the others that were arrested.
Okay,
And I
let's
think that's
clarify
about,
that. Yep.
yeah, that's about as far as I'll go. But yeah, there's
Okay.
others involved, obviously. And there's questions, huge questions.
I'm excited because I'm starting to put the one and one together, and I'm coming up with two, and I'll be there on the 25th. I'd love to see what's going on. Make sure you save a nice little seat on your left or your right. I'll be there. Okay.
Perfect. I'll
Yeah.
make sure
Yeah.
you get in. Like I said, I'm thinking, and again, we're assuming we can get in.
Sure.
Everything can change, but I don't care if I can get through the door or not. I told the man that on June 12th, when we started these pre-trials, I said, I want you to visualize there are hundreds of people outside of that courthouse. I had everybody dressed in white. There was a prayer being said by a pastor. There were hymns being sang at 9:30. I said, I want you to know that this is happening outside. I want you to know that we are there. And then when they came out, there was like 85 people in the courthouse that they could visually see there.
Nice.
I can't even imagine what they felt at that moment. So Yeah, the power of people coming together, it does make a big difference. But like you say, things change hour by hour. We don't even know what the next 25 days will bring,
Hmm.
or what time. I'm hoping 9 in the morning on the 25th, but something will happen regardless.
And all I know is there was an application filed, which can mean anything, because a CC1 application can mean anything. You can have one that says, I want to have a different type of meal, or I want to bring this judge under some review. It can mean anything, and that's all I know. But I'm excited that there's something's moving.
Yes.
So some
Yeah.
sort of justice is moving along here.
And that's the thing. Something is happening. I know one of the guys, like I said the other day, he when he heard March 2024, one of the pre-trials had been set where Good Friday, it landed on Good Friday, and they had to change that.
Yeah.
And all the man heard, he didn't hear anything else. All he heard is, I'm not going to see my daughter's birthdays again. It's
Yep.
going to be 3 birthdays that I will miss. That's all he heard. And he went into a puddle. Like, when you hear a grown man just break, it's hard to handle, and you're trying to help them through a phone. It's difficult, and you go back and you say, you need to just look at one day at a time. You need to, you don't drive to Texas in one leap. It's 1 mile, one
Mhm.
mile. And, you try to back them up where they can focus on something, because, as Donald will talk about, dead time is psychological torture, because they have nothing to focus on. But right now, they do have July 25th in their head.
That's exciting. So yeah, we'll be there. Hey, everybody, get there. Let's fill that parking lot. Wear white shirts, white everything. Let's go show some support around that. Yeah, Donald, you want to remind everybody about dead time and the effects that it can have on your mind?
Yes. Well, dead time is compared with after a person has been sentenced. When a person has been sentenced, they're sent to a proper prison, and whatever the sentence is, they know that that's it. That's what it
You can
will
start
be.
checking off on the calendar at that point.
Exactly. And the calendars are all over the cell walls, written in pencil. And so that gives you a focus, and it gives you hope, and you start thinking about what you're going to do when you get out. Contrast that to the Coutts Four. First of all, extremely serious charges. They've been in for 502 days. They've been transferred from institution to holding cells, bring them into to the court for that day, and that, I can tell you, that's a tough ride, and that's up early in the morning, earlier than you normally are, and depending on where they're being held, sometimes the sleep is not so good, sometimes it's a very noisy environment, so you get fatigued in the remand facility. But it's also the psychology of, I've been here for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in prison. Suppose they find me guilty and they sentence me to X or Y. That's all a stressor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an extremely long pretrial condition. 502 days. I can't remember when I last heard of someone doing this long in prison. They get murder trials up to the jury faster than this, and they truly do. So this is a long time. It's tough. And once again, that's why the letters, why when they hear about this show, why when they read some of the articles that I know are going to be published about this in various venues, that's why it's important that all these things be communicated to them, because it gives them some grounding, that there's some support, that they're not alone. They've broken them up, so they can't talk. They can't conspire to take over the government of Canada from their farm.
Right.
I mean, it's just, it is ridiculous. Once again, I'll say it every time we're on here. We have an accused cop killer out on first-degree murder of a police officer out on bail in Toronto. We have arsonists out on bail who have set multiple fires all across this country, destroyed thousands of acres and homes and lives, and they're out on bail.
Mhm.
And we put everybody out on bail. In all that context, this is a political decision and a political act to deny bail to all four of these gentlemen.
I agree completely, and I'm hoping that what we're going to find out in the next few weeks or so is maybe there's pieces of this puzzle that are big missing pieces, or maybe there's things that people said that they can't say again or something. My experience with the legal side of things is when things start to fall apart, it's usually around a witness or a statement that was made in the past that's been challenged and can't hold up. And if some of this stuff is really important, this testimony from before, it really can change a lot. But I'm going to go be there on the 25th. I'll get some more information. We'll be careful what we report because we certainly don't want to cause any problems. But I'm very curious on who the others are and what is being discussed. But yeah, what we'll do there, Granny, is I'll come down. I'm going to be in Calgary on the 24th because there's an election in Calgary Heritage for Kelly Lorenz. So I'll be there for sure on that. I'm arriving, I think, on the 22nd or something like that. But I'll make sure that once I'm done there, my next stop is to be in Lethbridge for the morning. Do you get the chance to go and meet them? Can you set up for you? Like, are you able to go and sit down with the guys and have some face-to-face time with them?
I have met them all. I went to each remand center because you got to remember, I was a voice to them. They didn't even know what I looked like because they'd never met me. So when I went and met them, it was a strange feeling because, we looked at each other and it's like, wow, first off, we're in a remand jail, which is a little bit different for this grandma and very different for them. And we got to sit across from each other and look at each other. And it was a surreal moment. But when they're in the court, when the court's going on, you can't get in to see them because they're at the courthouse.
Yeah.
But no, like you can't see them outside of booking appointments to go and see them.
Is that something that maybe we can set up for the 23rd or 22nd or something if we come in early?
23rd and 22nd, that's a weekend. And Chris and Chris, now listen to this. Chris and Chris can only see somebody on a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, depending which man. They have no evening visits and they have no weekend visits for the last year and a half.
So we could maybe, if it's a Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, there might be a way to arrange it so we go in and see them?
Yeah, the week before.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will work with you on that because if that means I'm in Lethbridge on the 22nd, 23rd, 21st and 20th or something like that, I'll go down to Calgary, do my thing on the Monday, come back up for the 25th. I'd be absolutely happy to do something like that.
And there's a process. Like I'd have to get you on their visitors list. And then you have to book. And this is where it gets a little difficult with Chris and Chris. You can only be on one visitors list at a time. But there's kind of a little way you can do it. But yeah, it's the whole thing is just weird. Like it's just
it sounds like they're controlling who they're seeing, and maybe they want to make sure that part of that narrative is controlled as well. But I'll work with you and the times and the dates, and if we can make that happen, I would be honored to go there with you and meet them. That would be wonderful.
Sounds great.
I had a situation when I was in prison where somebody came and wanted to come and see me. They drove all the way to the prison, a couple of hours, wanted to see me. Everything was okay, but my lawyer had come the day before, and that's it. That's all you're allowed this week.
Yeah.
And they had to turn around and drive home. So, it's chaotic. It really is chaotic. And that chaos is once again, can be countered by good people like Granny and by ordinary Canadians writing a letter. I can't
Absolutely.
say how important that would be to these men and all people in prison.
Well, we're doing the Canada Day special tomorrow. It's a 10-hour special. It's going to be on for quite a while. We're going to have a whole bunch of people on. So we'll keep the ticker going for them, and we'll keep asking Canada to send them Canada Day messages. Go ahead and write a Canada Day message. Get it to them. Donald, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about rebuilding trust with the legal system. So as somebody who is innocent put in there, you still work with the legal system. You file stuff, you do things. You have enough faith and trust in the legal system itself that you still leverage it when you need to. Can you explain to me a little bit how that worked for you? How were you able to come back from 63 days and then everything else around it? It was 63 days in prison, but those years, wasn't it, of dealing with this stuff? After you actually concluded all that, how did your faith start to get back into the system to the point where you would use it for other things?
You're making a heck of an assumption.
I guess so, maybe. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's why the question.
Well, I'll paraphrase Winston Churchill. The Canadian justice system is the absolute worst justice system, except for all the others.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
It's
as good
what
as it
we
can
have.
get.
It's what we have. But the thing we can do is we can be smarter. We can learn. We can learn new tricks, and by our experiences, we learn the tricks of the other side, the tricks of bad people, people who fabricate evidence. And there's some allegations. We're going to cover this next week.
Yep.
There are allegations in this case, and people have said it right out loud on microphones. And coppers can get kind of sloppy. And some of them don't do things correctly. And when that happens, if you have enough expertise to notice it and note it, then it can make a difference. But there are some people who will structure evidence, ignore evidence of innocence, and just cherry pick the evidence of guilt. They won't show you the whole 1 hour conversation. They'll show you that little phrase in the middle where you say, "I'd like to put the guy against the wall," and all it means is, it's an idiom. It's what we would all use. He banged my car, I'll kill him. Okay. I mean, there's that selective evidence. Now, we've already seen something by looking at that table full of guns and weapons. We've already seen that they hadn't been fingerprinted or checked for DNA, and that they probably weren't going to be. Why? Because they're touching each other, and there's no protection on any of those weapons. That was a display for the press, not a display for evidence.
That's why the cop car was there. What's the cop car doing there?
Exactly. That is not a picture of the weapons as they were found, where they were found. Those are brought to a place, laid on a table, so they can say, "Hey, look, Mom, look what we did today. Aren't we wonderful?"
Absolutely.
And in doing so, they've got a problem now with continuity of the exhibits. Continuity is the ability to say who touched it, where it was, that it was protected for fingerprints and DNA, that it was not polluted. Are we sure now that each one of those little cartridges, or that vest, or that handgun, or that magazine, where did it come from now? I didn't see any tags on those magazines. Okay, so this started off just by that picture as a look what we did, aren't we fabulous, where evidence, security, continuity were secondary to bragging about what they did. And that was a political statement. Look at what we found here. Look at these political people. Look at that. That was a political statement displaying those guns
Mhm.
for the press in the way that they did, in a way that would contaminate any evidence or the ability to gather DNA and fingerprints. And I presume that if the lawyers are competent at all, they've already noticed this. But if they haven't, well, that's a freebie. There you go.
They may have learned it on Monday by watching you. Who knows? Now, I spoke to Alex Cabana yesterday. I was on his show. He interviewed me, and he's a military vet. He knows guns quite well. And we actually brought that up because he was asking, hey, what are you working on? I said, well, the Coutts Four. You got to check this out. And he knew about the picture, and he looked at the weapons, and he's such an expert on it as he knows every single piece of weapon on there and what their legality is. His claim is every single one of those are 100% legal. Those are all legal guns. But what's unique and interesting about them all is they're all guns that have been added to the C-21 list as going to be banned. So at the time that they existed, they were legal, but these were all the guns that ended up on the C-21 ban list. And he found that peculiar, that all the weapons there ended up being stuff that were banned later. And and he's willing to talk about it, especially about military.
Sorry, but that's not peculiar, given what happened with the RCMP investigation into the mass murder down in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, down east there. Okay,
Yeah,
where we had the commissioner of the RCMP delivering a political message to the homicide investigators, release the type of guns to the public, so that politicians and the prime minister can use it in their anti-gun legislation.
exactly. That's what he was going with.
Did the same thing happen here?
That's what that's what he was implying. He was implying that this was now they can point and say, hey, we have all these guns on C-21 because look what happened in Coutts with them. That's kind of where he was going with that, because these were all legal guns. You can buy them, but these were all also added to the list on C-21 as well. So he's kind of connecting those dots, saying, well, if you're going to argue C-21 in, let's say, the House and say we need it, well, they keep pointing to the Coutts table of guns and say, look, that's what we're trying to stop. And he thinks that that's another political message, in addition to the arrest and the other things going on, was these guns were specifically displayed and then added to the list and then pointed to during debate as, look, this is why we need C-21. So there might have been a couple of things that the government leveraged. You don't leave a good tragedy unleveraged. So they saw this and said, oh, look, we can maybe push C-21 forward. We can push, we have some testimony in our POEC that's good for us, and we can justify the EA. Like, there's a whole bunch of good things for the government to point and blame on these men that actually worked for them over the last year and a half. And that's what I kind of looking at.
Yeah, let me add just one more thing there. These guns. Now, first of all, let's go back to the homicide down east. The homicide investigators were appalled. One of them even recorded the conversation. Good for him. and refused to release the types or photos of the weapons involved. Why? They're in the middle of an investigation. They want to know where they came from. They want to be exactly. Now, contrast that to the RCMP actions in Coutts, where they publicized the types and numbers of weapons. If it was a serious investigation into a serious attempt to overthrow this government through violence, no fourth-class constable right out of police college would do that.
You got a good point there.
Once again, making it a political decision to put all those weapons together and lay them out so effectively to achieve a political purpose, which would undermine the quality of the investigation. But it was political, so they didn't care.
That's a really good point, Donald, because what is the public value to displaying it if it's not to get public scared and get public intimidated by it?
It undermines undermines the quality of the investigation. It undermines the court case. It undermines everything. I mean, just talking about it in the last 5 minutes, you've heard my analysis of this, and yet they did it. Why? Because it meant that the political imperative was primary. It was much more important than doing a good investigation.
Absolutely. And the way this is headed, and I'm just pie in the sky here, Granny. So what I'm saying here next is just pie in the sky. Let's just say within the year they are released. Maybe the trial doesn't even have to happen, and they're released. Charges are pulled or something like that, and they come back into society and get back to life. Should they ever get a speeding ticket again? Should they be able to, go 10 over and not be bothered again? Like, what should society do to apologize these gentlemen if we find out, yes, they were innocent and they get released in the future? Should we, give them a free house? Like, what should we do to these gentlemen? Because after 500, well, it'll be like 600 days by then, they gave up their time.
That's a good question, because how do you fix this? Like, how do you fix the words, "You don't deserve to be comfortable"? How do you fix that? They hear a click at the door, they hear a door slam, and they think, is it going to happen again? How do you fix that mental terror that they're going to wake up at 1 a.m? They're all going to need therapy. Like, the PTSD that's going to come out of this. I'm sure they are even going through it laying in those cells, waiting for another guard to come along and toss their room. Every time they go to the courthouse, and then they're violated when they come back to the remand. Like, this is real. The theater that's played around them, like Chris Lysick has to go get his eyes checked, and it took months to get his paper to go get his eyes checked. He will be handcuffed, shackled, and then some kind of waist chain thing. Like, he looks like he mass murdered somewhere out there. Like, he's a single father of 2 children, and he's dressed up for theater. It's all theater. Everything they do around these men, everything they write, like, and again, they're somewhat protected being in the remand. We love them, but not everybody does.
Yeah.
So when they come out, unfortunately, their faces are very well known. They haven't had somebody come up to them on the street and say something derogatory to them. They haven't experienced that. And I pray they never do. But
it might be quite the opposite. People might come up to them and say,
that too.
Look,
That
thanks,
too. You're right.
Yeah, and I think that might be what happens if we keep getting the word out. We keep building the community. We keep building this even for years after. We keep that going. Like, they are our heroes, especially if they did all of that and they held strong. Because here's what I'm going to say to them: if you guys come out as innocent, because we believe you are, but if we can show the entire world that you are by not taking a deal and by using the system and getting out clean, not only will you be confirmed as heroes, you'll be celebrated as heroes for a long time. Because what you ended up doing for us as Canadians is you held the system together and you didn't let it fall down. Because if they give in and let it crumble, then Trudeau could do this again and again. The next government can do it again and again. So we need to set a precedence at this stage that we will stand up as Canadians against this kind of tyranny, even if it means over 500 days of sitting there waiting for your justice to arrive. And for that, they'll be heroes forever in my books.
And there is chatter in the background. I had a lady come up to me at, I think it was June 12th, because we did have a larger gathering on June 12th to kick off the pretrial. And she came up to me, and she's a mother who homeschools her children. And then she waited till nobody was near us. And she says, I was a RCMP officer. And I kind of, like, it does. At first, it kind of, okay. And because you're guarded, unfortunately, right now. And she says, I was one of those officers. And she talked about when Brooks had the protests back in the day. Do you remember the protests down there with the meat plants? And I don't know if you
No,
remember.
apology. No.
It was quite huge, and people of those cultures don't back down. They're not going to quit. There's nothing you can do. They will starve because they believe they're right, and they will make sure that you know they're right. And she said, we went in with the attitude. We are right. We are doing what's right. This is us. Rah, rah, rah. And she says, I went in there. And she says, I look back now and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what was I doing? And then she says, now I look around and I'm thinking, what are they doing?
Right.
So, and that was from an ex-officer.
Oh,
Yeah.
how I can relate to that, you know, especially early on, young officers. It's like being in the Army. You do what you're told, and the citizens are the citizens are under your command. This is the attitude of a young officer, and frankly, my squad, when I was a motorcycle cop, we had a old staff sergeant take us into a room and just tear a strip right off us, read us Peel's rules of policing, Peel's principles of policing, the community is the police and the police. What are you doing? What are you doing, guys? These are your fellow citizens, and you're going to have to order a coffee someday. And if you don't treat people with respect, they'll spit in it or worse. And that's true.
And I'm looking at the consequences for Alberta RCMP. And this could be the death knell for Alberta RCMP, and we might get Alberta police after this. Because if it's shown during this case that maybe they cooperated with some sort of conspiracy to commit a fraud against a citizen, we don't need them. We can do an Alberta police force. And this might be the straw that breaks that camel's back, because that conversation has been going on for a couple of years now, at least. And this could be an indicator of maybe we should be taking care of our own policing on an Alberta level. We'll join Quebec and Ontario and China and have our own police force in Canada. I think it's about time. If China can have police stations in Canada, so can Alberta. So I think maybe there's so much good that can come out of this, Granny, that possibly even Alberta for years and years to come can prosper because of this particular thing. And maybe that's what divine intervention, maybe that's what that is. Demonstrating when your government persecutes innocent people, that might be enough for the people to stand up and say, you know what, love ya, it was great up to this point, but take care and take off RCMP. And I would get behind a mission like that, because I think it's time Alberta polices itself.
Well, there's definitely a bigger reason for them being in there. There has to be. And originally there wasn't. It was like these 4 family men in a jail, confused family, confused friends. Everybody doesn't know what's going on, and it just day by day kept going forward, and then week by week, then month by month, and they're sitting there like, what is happening? And now they do realize there's something bigger and better to come out of it. Still not easy, because every hour is another hour in there. Every time they phone, like I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day, and they phone and I say, they say, oh, how are you? And I say, how are you? Like we do the pleasantries, but the pleasantries are weird, because I ask, how are you? And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. How are you? But it seems so weird to ask somebody that's in a remand center for 502 days and to try and have a conversation. And don't get me wrong, we have good conversations, but it is weird to ask a man how they're doing when they're in that atmosphere.
Yeah, and we'll be asking that, and we'll be making sure that they stay good when this is all over as well. I would like to see Alberta celebrate them and continue to celebrate them. We're going to wait to find out the determination of the court over the next for a little bit. But look, Donald, once they come out and we start to support them as well, how long? No, I don't want you to psychoanalyze them and stuff like that. But do you think when they come out, it's going to be boom, they're just back into society, or is it going to take a while for them to get themselves used to it again?
No way. Look, once again, I was in only for 63 days. And I was proven innocent when I was vindicated at the end of it all. They've been in for a long time. And you come out, and it's interesting. When you come out, you have a new appreciation and love for the good things in your life, your family, your friends, the sunrise. And it makes you, it's almost like a rebirth when you come out. And that's a good part. The bad part is, there are people who abandoned you. Not formally, but even some relatives. They have this thing in their mind. Well, they're charged. Donald, you were put in jail. You were sentenced. You must have done something. And it's probably the same. There are people. There are old friends, old employers, even some extended family members who are really having a tough time dealing with the people they know versus the charge that they're under. And there may be that little doubt. And it takes time, and it's like this. The people who abandoned me or who had doubts about me, some of them it took a year or two to get back to me and invite me to dinner, and that was their way of asking for forgiveness. That's going to happen.
Yeah. And actually, there's a artist in Manitoba who does my music, Granny. He did the intro. He actually created a song for the guys, and he sent it to me just the other day, a couple days ago, and I'm going to cue it up and play it for you. Because, there's people that care. Artists are sitting down and pulling out the guitar and putting stuff together. So if you don't mind, Granny, I'm going to put you on the screen, and you can maybe just talk a bit about how you're looking forward to hugging them again and just being physically close to them again.
Hugging them again. I've never hugged them before.
Okay, then hug them one day. But I'm sure that embrace will be great.
Yeah, we do talk about that. We talk about, I always joke around because I'm the grandma that hugs everybody. I started out with my wiener roast. I actually started out marching in front of the Remand Center in Edmonton for Pastor Coutts. And then I started wiener roast when we were all locked down and isolated because I feared for people that were alone. So I started doing that, and it became, I was the grandma that was hugging everybody. I started hugging at rallies when we weren't supposed to touch each other. And I just have become known that. So people come out, they go, I'm here for my granny's hug. And so one day I will get to hug these 4 men and have my picture taken with my 4 boys, because they've kind of become my 4 boys. And and I do love them. They're all individuals. They all have their own personalities, and I'm excited for them to see everything. There's so much, and I tell them that there's so many people that share their love for them and are writing songs for them, like this gentleman. And there's a lot of good out there, but it's hard to show them and tell them about it because it's over a phone. So
So I have a feeling that your Christmases are going to get very expensive because you have a lot of grandchildren now. You can add Donald and I to that list because there's a lot of us calling you Granny now. Christmas, we're going to get a little $5 cards from you as well. A little card with $5 in it. It's going to be great.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute.
Yeah. You're going to have a big Christmas tree this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to put us all on the screen as we enjoy this song. It's about 3 minutes. And just keep in mind, he said we go ahead and play it, but it's rough. He just started producing it. But let's go ahead and check it out.
Okay.
Murder the
hey now.
Very
Sorry,
good.
that was a loop. That was a loop. Hey, you're just in the music video. There we go. We're bringing MTV back, right?
Oh,
Goes
my
a hey now. Yes, right, Paula. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a hey now. So I reached out to him on Monday, and he watched the episode on Monday, and I said, hey, you want to write something? And he was paying attention to our episode because we don't have a justice system. We have a system of laws, like he says. And he's absolutely right. And yeah, he gave it to me on Wednesday. It's the first time I heard it. And that's how quick that can be turned around. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I'll tell the four men about it today. I'll make sure they know about it. Have you heard of Lindsay Butler before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, she's a lady that lives, she's a young lady, I'm guesstimating 30-ish. And she was part of the music industry, but due to what we went through the last 3 years, her career, she was doing good. She was down in the States. She was making a name for herself. And then she wouldn't do what the government asked everybody to do. And she couldn't get across the border anymore. And her career came to a halt. Anyhow, she sings at a lot of the fundraisers we have. And
Nice.
she actually sang a song down, a few songs down at the Coutts border, right at the little rope for the States and
Right.
Canada, on the flat deck of Chris Carbert's truck. The guys were all there, and Chris Lysick was carrying in her sound equipment, and she's a beautiful young lady, and she sang there. And she now, and she's a really good friend of Jerry's, like the family knows her well. And she went down and she sang for freedom. She wrote a song, and it's called Freedom. You would love
Great.
it.
I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to talk to her.
Yes, I'll see if I can get her to join us, because now she talks with the guys on the phone. She visits if she can. She's become friends with all the families. And it's funny how she was that girl singing at the border, and how it's all changed. And she's a wonderful young lady.
Absolutely, and music is a great thing to add because it gets right to your soul, especially. And I was also contacted by a gentleman named Greg Arcade. I believe he did a fundraiser for you as well, and he's passing some music to us as well. And I believe he's working on a song as well.
That's funny you say that, because yesterday I was going through his stuff, and I thought, and he sang some songs because he came and did our large fundraiser. He came.
Yeah, he mentioned that. Yeah,
it was great. He's a wonderful man. Like he was instantly there for the guys, and he came all the way from Manitoba, like drove there, like just nonstop, did his thing, and then drove back. And great artist.
No, he's a wonderful artist, and he's going to be on our show. I'll just let you know when, the 14th of July. So he'll be on the show, and he'll be playing some music on that show, and maybe something new for the Coutts guys.
Well, him and Lindsay played together at the barn. It was it was a wedding venue barn east of Olds, and Lindsay and him were there together. So
that's awesome. So it's such a small world, but here's what happens when good people are out there. They attract each other. They come together. This is part of the process. And I didn't reach out to him. He reached out to me, and he said, hey, look, I've been watching your stuff. I think we think alike. We're in the like minds, and I've got a bunch of music that you might like. And I never heard of him prior to that. I put on the first songs like, Godsend. Who is this guy? And then I asked him about, hey, do you know about the Coutts guys? Because I reached out to all the artists I know to put something together. And he says, absolutely, I know who they are. I was there for fundraising, and I've been thinking about a song for a little while for them.
Yeah, no, he's a good man. He's got a big heart. And we were very grateful for him coming all the way. Like, that was a big journey over, I think he did it in 2.5 days, came and left and sang. And the men are forever grateful to him also. Like, everybody that's stepping up, there's some really good people out there, and that's what we need to focus on. Like, Jerry writes in a gratitude journal at night.
Wow.
Like, that's how, they try to find the good. They were grateful that a guard brought them a tray of food after court, because typically, because they get in later, they would have got a bagged lunch. But she saved a tray for them. That they were so happy. They were so happy to have sandwiches yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before, that were made that morning.
Yeah.
Without an expiry date date of how many days prior. Like, they really do see the good in things now, because that's what they need to look at, is try to not to look at all the bad, but really look at all the good that they can find. And they do find good.
Absolutely, because they are good, Granny. That's why they are good people. Their core is genuine, and the core is love, and that's obvious in the way they react to not being able to see their kids, the way they react to the bad news, and they still stay strong. I believe their core is genuine and righteous, and that's why they're able to continue this journey. Donald, I'm going to pass it to you, and we're going to wrap up. But on that note, these are real good men. And do you think when they come out, it's going to be a bit overwhelming for a bit? And it's going to be a bit of a shock to their system. But because they're innocent coming out, we'll be able to get them back to normal?
They will eventually. And as I say, there's a joy in coming out. I just want to comment on this, though. The guards have to be very, very careful. The prison guards, they cannot be seen to be favoring anyone. They cannot be... they cannot let their guard down. This is very typical. However, when they see someone who they believe is in for the wrong reasons or might be innocent, they start to react like normal human beings. The fact that the guards would bring them a dinner and save a dinner for them is unusual. And to me, it shows that even in this tough prison, they recognize the innate goodness of these men.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some heart and sympathy and empathy going on there too. And yeah, I think maybe the narrative is cracking and people are understanding a lot more now. I'm looking forward to getting some more information next week, Granny. So there's no other court until the 25th?
No. If anything comes up, I'll make sure you guys are the first to know, because you don't know from day to day, hour to hour. Things change, and it's what it is. Like I said, there's nothing in stone. Anything can change at any given moment, and let's pray it does.
I agree with that. And next week, we're going to be getting into the evidence some more. We'll be looking at that picture some more. I'll reach out to some people who understand the weapons quite well. I'll ask Alex if he can come on. And also believe, Donald, you were mentioning you found an audio, or a woman who made an audio file, and you were kind of trying to reach out to her. Who was that again?
Yes, not saying. I'm going to reach out to someone.
We're going to attempt
and we'll
to.
See.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to attempt to get some more people on next week that may have some more information that they found or created or have access to. But next week, the next 4 days are going to be about trying to get into the evidence, trying to find out what's going on from the outside without using any inside stuff, so we don't violate any of the orders from the court. We're allowed to do whatever we can from the outside. And that's what we're going to be doing next week. So come back next week, as we're going to have some lawyers probably, and a military guy who understands these weapons, and possibly a witness to something and to a recording. We're digging into that one. I think everybody knows who we're talking about, but we're going to continue to try and make contact and see what we can do there. So, Granny, thank you so much. We were unable to get some friends and family on today because things are so dynamic and they're changing. But over the next week, we'll try and see if we can get some on for next Friday as things kind of calm down a bit. And I'll work very closely with you to get on that visitor list. And if it takes a couple days to see them all, then that's what it will take. But yeah, I'll work with you, my wife, and our schedule, and we'll make that happen, Granny.
Sounds great. And I'm going to be at the Whistle Stop tomorrow, and for their Canada Day celebration. The signal is a bit dodgy out there, but I will try and pop onto your show tomorrow and give you a bird's eye view of what's going out in rural Alberta. There are 3 tables that are setting up to help fundraise for our 4 men. It's everywhere. People are popping out of the woodwork everywhere.
Well, that's excellent that you're doing a fundraiser. So if you want to come on a couple times to remind people about it, we'll keep getting that word out. And you can interview people who are there and have anybody else on you want. This is about Canada's heroes tomorrow. So we're reaching out to all heroes, big and small. We may have some that float in space showing up as well. So it might be a very exciting episode. So thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I have a personal hero, and I understand he's coming back from the UK. I've been in touch with his staff, and they're going to do what they can do there. But if you can make it all the way to orbit, maybe you can make it to my stream. So we'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
you guys, happy Canada Day to you both, and forever grateful for you showing up in our lives. And when I say our, I mean myself, the families, and our 4 Alberta family men: Chris, Jerry, Tony, and Chris.
And they get first dibs on the seats at your Christmas table. It's going to be a big full table this year, I think.
It is going to be. Even my grandsons know about the men, and
Yeah.
I'm teaching them. Teach them young.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Granny, for the update. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting down there to seeing you in person. I'll be that tall guy that's lanky and hanging out. But I do have equipment to be out and about with my show. I do have that stuff so I can interview people, and I can actually do it from the street if I need to. So I'm going to come prepared. We're going to do all our shows, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and giving you that big hug, because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, goodbye, Donald. We'll see you tomorrow. Maybe you'll pop on the stream tomorrow and say hi to Canada. Maybe you can stick around a bit.
I think so. I wouldn't miss it. There we go.
Yeah. Well, if you're there and the other guy that shows up from space is there, I'll make him wait, because it's Donald Best. All right.
You're a liar.
I don't know. I actually had to tell Maxime Bernier to come back after an hour because he was too early. I have no shame. I'll do what I need to do.
There you go.
But thank you both very much. You have a great weekend. Hopefully we can see you both tomorrow. And if we can't, have God bless you on Sunday, and then we'll see you all on Monday. Thank you all very much.
See you, Granny. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Well, isn't that a great way to end the week? There's some excitement going on. We're getting some news. We can't get too much of the details, but the court stuff that you can look into, they filed the CC1, which is an application. It's not visible. I can't see what the application says, but it's an application. So the defense is doing something. They've applied for something. Whether it was access to somebody, and 100% speculating here because Granny gave me no information on this, but they could make an application to get information, get disclosure. Maybe there's a big chunk in that disclosure dump they found is missing. They could be applying to talk to a witness and have access to a witness, because the defense does have the ability to interview witnesses before trial. So there might be something going on around the evidence or the lack of it. But whatever it is, it seems to have got the family's attention. It seems to have buzzed the entire court. And I'm going to be there on the 25th. I don't care if I have to stand outside because there's no room and we can't get in or whatever, but I'll be there for sure. You guys can count on that. Well, thank you all very much. You caught me on the road. And today I'm going to have an episode with Gabriel Clark, who's a lawyer from the U.S. who does conversion therapy in the States for children and young adults who are confused and they want to get back to their birth gender. Here in Canada, that's illegal. That's illegal under C4, Bill C4, because if you're not practicing your birth gender, in Canada, you're not allowed to assist anybody to go back to their birth gender. It's in the law. So I have to speak to somebody from outside of Canada about this topic. And we won't be counseling any Canadians on this particular topic because that would be illegal. But what we certainly can do is we can interview somebody who works in this profession in another country. So she's a lawyer who does this and she saves lives. So tune in today. It's 4:00 Western or Mountain Time. 6:00 Eastern Time. She's going to be on live for a couple hours. It's going to be a wonderful show. She was on Tucker Carlson. She goes around spreading this message and sharing her stories. So I'm looking forward to that one tonight. Well, thank you all very much. This was an uplifting and exciting episode. So I'm looking forward to coming back on Monday to tell you about more of the stuff that we found over the weekend. And I'll keep you up to date on whether or not I can meet them. And we'll see what happens on the 25th. So thank you all very much. I love you. And God bless. Oh, well, I'm being told to do the subscribe. Apologies. Yes, we're back on YouTube. Do the subscribe. Do the likes. If you're on Facebook, give us the hearts. Give us the thumbs up. You can find us streaming. You got to move that banner, Paula. You got it. Thank you. You got it. You can find us streaming on Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube now. We're welcome back. LinkedIn and Getter. So you can find us on 8 different platforms live. And you can also watch replays there. And if you like something, clip it. There's a bunch of chunks in this video that might be good clips. You can even clip Zaheda's song. And there's a music video with Granny. So this is an excellent video. So clip it and make sure that you share that. And join our Discord server if you want to get first information, you want to participate, you want to assist with the evidence, join our Discord server, because that's where we meet up to do that kind of stuff. So thank you all very much. I'm very excited to get on with this day because it sounded like something's going on. They know about the show. They know that people are now thinking about them again, and that's wonderful. And it's amazing. It's amazing what sunlight can do, right? Sunlight helps with transparency. It can clean up stuff. And this is what we're trying to do. It's a good morning, and let's bring that sun in. Thank you all very much. Love you all. God bless.